to the Voncast show. Today I got special guest, Richie. How's it going, man?
It's good, man.
All the way from New Zealand, aka Young PMA, aka Muay Thai not meth, man. How's it going, bro?
Yo, it's good, man. My girlfriend and I just got here from Mexico last night.
Nice.
But yeah, it's good to be back in LA.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
Yeah, cool. My girlfriend teaches meditation.
Okay.
So she's running a workshop down in Mexico in conjunction with a guy from, I think he's based in LA.
Okay.
And that was cool for her, and I went down and joined her. It was like my 4th trip to Mexico.
Very cool.
And yeah, I don't know how many times I've been to LA.
You come over a little bit that way?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Much better.
But yeah, it's nice to be back and catch up with some friends
cool,
you know, eat some good vegan food and
nice.
Go to Soul Cycle. You know?
Very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, life's good, man. I feel very grateful to be out here.
Likewise. Nice day. I bring the weather with me.
Yeah.
So tell us who you are and what you do, man.
So yeah, back in New Zealand, I'm a Muay Thai coach and I train fighters and I train people for fitness and you know, general health and well-being.
Cool.
And I'm also an educator and public speaker.
Nice.
So I do a lot of speaking in Australia, increasingly in Australia and throughout New Zealand on a range of subjects, which are all interrelated. So I talk about alcohol and drug harm reduction, I talk about mental health, I talk about masculinity, and I talk about stopping family and sexual violence.
Nice.
And there's like a correlation between those things.
Definitely. All different layers.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for about 3 years now. Before that, I was working for the Ministry of Health in my country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just in a community project around reducing alcohol and drug harm.
Nice.
Yeah, I did that for about 7 years, and then I decided to go out and I guess work for myself.
Nice.
I had all these side hustles going on,
Cool.
and increasingly my job was getting more restrictive. Like when I started, I could turn up in shorts and like a cut-off t-shirt, and like I was out in the community all day. And then it got more and more like you need to wear a shirt and you need to do this and do this paperwork. And I was like, it's not my shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went through a difficult patch in my personal life and ended up quitting the job. And my manager at the time was a cool young guy. He's like, yo, so glad you're doing this.
Yeah.
And yeah, now I work for myself as a speaker, and it's dope. It's dope getting to go and, you know, I speak to universities and go to high schools and speak in businesses.
I saw you on TED Talk, bro.
Yeah, I just did a TED Talk
Nice.
in Auckland that comes out in the next couple of weeks.
Cool, man.
To be honest, the TED Talk wasn't like my best talk I ever gave.
Right.
I don't know why, like it kind of, I had like a little mental block that day. But it's like fighting, you know, sometimes you get in the ring and you're in that flow state. Yeah. And other times it's like, you know, and you have to grind it out. So, but yeah, I'm happy that the ideas I presented in my TED Talk are becoming increasly common knowledge around.
Right.
We'll talk about masculinity. And stuff.
Were your palms sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy?
Yeah. No, it wasn't 8 Mile, but I do a lot of public speaking, you know. But I was like, so normally I'm really comfortable. Right. Like I'm normally really comfortable in front of an audience. But there are certain things that make you feel a little shy again. Yeah. So yeah, the TED Talk is one of them, just because I think the brand got to me. Yeah, that the brand is big. Like, and more because people were recording it. Okay. Like, oh, yo, motherfuckers can put it on the internet. Oh yeah. People might, you know, fucking flame me in the comments.
Oh
you
god,
know?
turn the comments on.
Yeah, but you know, I hope some people watch it and it helps them reflect on the world that we live in and maybe reflect on their own behaviors.
Cool. So you talked about you do drug and alcohol awareness. Yeah. From what I recall, from what I see in your Instagram and social media, you promote sobriety. Now it's cool to have like 1 or 2 drinks or party here and there, but if you're someone like myself, it's really tough to just like have 1 drink. Can you talk to us about like your journey through sobriety? Yeah, sure. So my father's an alcoholic. My great grandfather, who I never met, is an alcoholic. I mean, my father never met him. He left my great grandmother before my dad was born, obviously. So we have like this genetic component to it and then a family history component to it. So due to my father's alcoholism, I remember when I was a teenager, when my friends in high school started doing drugs and drinking, I was not with it. Yeah, I was like, yo, I'm good. And everyone gave me a hard time and teased me and danced with me. You know, like normal high school peer pressure shit. Of course.
But at first, I really rejected it because I associated alcohol in particular with all the negative stuff that was happening in my home life.
Right.
And, I experimented a little bit with alcohol and drugs in my teens and late 20s, but yeah, it never was for me. Although I've always gravitated towards, I guess, out there people. Like a lot of my friends use drugs.
Yeah.
Problematically, I'd have to say.
Right.
Or historically have. Or a lot of my friends are in recovery and go to AA or NA. Mm-hmm. I've always found that energy in people like a natural space for me.
Yeah.
Because how I grew up, like when you grow up with instability and chaos, that's what you kind of recognize in people as like, yo, this is my fan.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, it's like recognizes like and real recognizes real. And I've always been around that.
Right.
But I've just also had, I guess, in professional terms, we call it protective factors.
Right.
I was really lucky to meet really good role models through Thai boxing. I got into martial arts when I was 13 years old. And then as I became a teenager, I met some dudes who were a bit older than me, and they were into like straight edge.
Nice.
And they kind of, instead of giving me a hard time for not getting wasted, because where I grew up, like in Auckland, it was a really like big drinking culture.
Really?
Yeah, everyone's like, yo, like homophobic jokes and why are you not drinking and you're a girl and blah blah blah.
Very
but that was real 90s shit, And these older cats were like, yo man, like it's dope that you're not drinking, or why'd you get drunk that weekend, and kind of just help make it cool to be sober.
Right.
And they had cool style and cool tattoos, and I was like, oh yo, and they're doing cool shit. They were like going to New York and playing in bands, and the whole like straight edge scene sort of was a protective factor that helped me, I guess be myself, instead of trying to be someone that I wasn't, And so once I come through adolescence, I still drank, but literally like 3 times a year. And then I decided to quit when I was, I think, 27. So this is my 12th year of sobriety.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks, man. But I never personally had I think maybe I have an addictive personality, but I never had a problem with my own drinking and drug use.
Right.
But all the harm around me was enough for me to be like, I don't want to be part of this,
Yeah.
I want to try and live an alternative path. Like, I still think it's a really punk rock thing to do, like being sober.
Definitely.
I'm really grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the insights sobriety's given me, and it doesn't mean, I think a lot of people think that like, yo, I'm sober, that's it, I'm good. I've still made some really bad life choices and made mistakes and hurt people, but sobriety's given me I guess, helped me develop the self-knowledge to see why I've done those things and how to try not to do them again in the future,
Yeah, I know. I used to drink a lot when I was, like early to like late 20s.
Sure.
And I would always lose like my wallet, misplace my keys and all that stuff, and I realized like, hey, when I stopped drinking so much, that stopped happening less.
Just simple stuff like that. I mean, that's the light end of it, like I got friends who would go out and get drunk and get in fist fights, like kill someone by mistake, you hit someone, bang the head on the ground, and then manslaughter, There's just sorts of stories that have always been around me. Crash your car, or like drinking, driving, homie like crashed his car, killed his 2 best friends, like shit like that, So that more extreme end of things has always been really cautionary to me to observe.
Yeah.
And then even simple things like, why am I fighting with my partner, or why did someone cheats on you, or you cheat on someone, or that emotional harm. Yeah. I think that that doesn't get caught in like statistics.
Yeah.
But
emotional harm, I like that.
Yeah, emotional harm is massive, and I think substance abuse isn't to blame for it, but it can be a causative of, or a contributing factor to poor decision making,
Right, definitely.
So for me, being sober has been, it's been really, it's helped me keep a clear set of eyes to look at the mistakes I've made and try to learn from them rather than recreate them.
Right, I like that. Another topic we're going to get into is harm reduction. I know it's a bit controversial because, on one side you want kids to stop doing drugs, but then you talk about harm reduction. It's like, well, you want them to start doing drugs. Why are you teaching them how to
do drugs safely?
Yeah. I did a paper, I think, like on Asian Americans and ecstasy in my senior thesis class.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting.
It's pretty interesting. It was cool because it's a big thing. Like the EDM culture here is huge.
Sure.
Interesting. Like I don't know why. Like it's interesting. Like in I think in Australia they like Asian younger Asian women identify themselves like little girls.
Okay.
Have you heard that?
No.
No, it's interesting. I don't know. But back to that, like I got into like an argument with my teacher. She's like, no, I don't think you should promote harm reduction. I told her people are gonna do drugs as like sad as this is reality. Mm-hmm. Might as well teach them, hey, drink some water, take these vitamins, check your heart rate, kind of stuff. Can you talk to us about harm reduction?
Sure. Yeah, so, I work for the Ministry of Health in New Zealand for a community-based project in my city for a long time. And when I started that job, I'd come from a long personal history of growing up with my father's alcoholism, girlfriends who had substance problems, friends who had substance problems. And I had grown up listening to bands like Earth Crisis and Militant Straight Edge bands, and I was quite judgmental about drug use, to be honest. I was quite judgmental, a lot more closed-minded, and really individualized the problem. Like, if you do drugs or you drink too much, you're a weak person with shitty fucking, shitty ideas and fucking, you should just fucking go running and blah, 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 blah. Fucking, like, if I can do it, like, my life hasn't been easy, motherfucker, like, but that's actually wrong, like, if you look at why people problematically use drugs, 9 times out of the 10, people are like covering up some sort of emotional hurt or mental distress or undiagnosed mental health issue, or they haven't got better coping mechanisms, so they do the one that everyone else is doing, drinking or using drugs. Our broader culture glorifies and teaches that alcohol's how we have fun and how we relax and how we unwind. You think about sports sponsorship, you think about advertising, marketing, the shit that pops up on your Instagram feed. Like everyone's like, yeah, fucking YOLO, here I am, like, right?
Right, agreed.
Like, we normalize that all the time, so you can't blame someone for drinking too much. Right. Like, they're doing basically what society's telling them to do, and you can't just spontaneously pop out of that bubble. Same with drug abuse. So, like, while that's not as commonplace as alcohol abuse, like, drugs make you feel good for a reason, like, people don't do them because they make you feel shitty, and it becomes a problem when people, again, like, have got an internal trauma, like, emotionally, psychologically. And I didn't realize that at the time until I started working with, people with addiction and broader sections of society, and I came to learn about harm reduction. Like, people are going to do drugs anyway, as you say, man, and I don't want people to die because they're doing drugs. Right. If the goal of the law is to minimize the harm that drugs do in our society, well, the law as it stands doesn't do that. More people are doing drugs, not less. Since Nixon and Reagan, since the war on drugs was launched, and we're finally starting to see governments and international bodies like the UN wake up to the fact that the war on drugs has failed, man. Right. Like, locking up people, putting them in jail, spraying terrible poisons throughout Colombia, throwing people of color in jail disproportionately. Yeah, that's just ripping communities and families apart, and further creating more trauma that people need to self-medicate against. Yeah. If you want to save people's lives, you need to look at, the most talked about model is Portugal, where they decriminalized all drug use. If you get arrested in possession of any drug, whether it's heroin or cannabis, you get put in front of like a treatment court where I believe there's like a lawyer, a judge, and a social worker or a psychologist or something. And they assess your level of use and they offer you treatment if you want it. They don't mandate it. And it's a very health-based intervention. And at the same time as decriminalizing all drugs, they massively invested in healthcare and access to treatment for people who might need it. Right. So they actually had a massive reduction in drug use and drug-related harm. I think there's a slight increase perhaps in cannabis from memory, cannabis use, but on the whole, like, less people were using drugs than under the previous punitive criminalized model. And that's been the same in most countries that I'm aware of, where they've created like legal injection sites.
I've seen those.
You know?
Yeah. Was it Sweden? Or
I think it's Switzerland.
I've seen a documentary.
Yeah.
It was, what's that guy's name? That funny comedian, Russell Brand.
Oh yeah, Russell Brand.
Yeah, a documentary about that, I think.
Yeah, Russell Brand's done some great work around harm reduction and helping people with sobriety as well. But again, you know, I think it's Switzerland off the top of my head, but you know, there were like, you know, needles everywhere throughout parks and like really high rates of HIV infection. As soon as they legalized injection sites, all that went away. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when you go and buy drugs from a government-run facility, it's not going to be full of fucking rat poison and shit that might kill you. You got to know exactly the strength and quantity and where it came from. Yeah. And you're not going to fucking die and leave your kids an orphan. You know?
Wow, I never thought of that part.
So harm reduction is a really positive tool, you know? Like, in New Zealand where I live, we don't have problems with some of the drugs that you have here, but we have problems with synthetics and methamphetamine and shit like that. You know, a bunch of kids have been dying lately because they've been taking like party pills and stuff, and there's no idea what's in them. Right. You know, if drugs were decriminalized or legalized and sold from, you know, like say a government-run facility, well, shit's not cool anymore if the government sells it. Right. So it stops being as appealing perhaps to young people. Yeah. You know exactly what's in their pills and the strength and the dosage. Every time you go and buy some fucking pills, person can check in that you're okay, how's your life, what's your broader, you know, what's your broader physical health like, got any problems going on in your life, and you know, you can monitor that shit. At the moment, when I was 15 years old, even though I didn't use drugs, I'd buy drugs from my older friends. Like I'd go to what we would call tinny houses, and you knock on a door, a little slatch opens up and like, yo, here's $20.
It's so 90s.
Yeah, well, I'm an old motherfucker, man. Like, yeah. Me too. And the slatch opens, but what do you want? $20, here's a tinny, you buy some cannabis, right? Yeah. I have no idea what's in that. Could be like laced with whatever. Yeah. If I was buying harder drugs, as we've seen, like over here, you got mad fentanyl deaths and overdoses, you know, with opiates and, you know, people buying Molly that's not Molly. You know, like in New Zealand it's the same. Like people think they're buying MDMA, which is not a harmless drug, but a drug that's not on the scale. It's not on, you know, it's a lower on the harm scale. Yeah. But it's cut with all sorts of shit, so people can fucking die or get a completely different high and not be prepared for that. Yeah. So harm reduction is, I believe, a really evidence-based approach to reducing the harm that drugs does, as the name says. Right. I think a lot of people want to look tough on crime and lock them up and throw away the key, but you're criminalizing users who are often already people who have got enough problems as it is without, you know, criminal justice to deal with.
Right, I agree. So you're talking about addiction, so you're saying how, you know, you're decriminalizing addiction is good thing for like having possession of drugs. To you, is addiction, is that like a choice or is it a disease?
I think the best model of what addiction is that I've seen through my limited professional experience and, you know, my life experience is it's a complex causative. They say it's biological, sociological, biopsychosocial. So biological is like physiology, so maybe genetics, maybe there's a genetic component to it. And it's not, and like a family history, psychological, like what's going on in your mind, you know, like do you have anxiety or depression or bipolar disorder or PTSD or some sort of stress, and sociological, what's your environment like? So if you're born in a neighborhood where there's lots of violence, people around you are using drugs a lot, people are selling fucking drugs on the corner, much higher chance that you're going to use drugs. Right. You know, and at the same time, if you've been abused as a child, you grew up with neglect, much higher chance you're going to use drugs. And then you're going to have a much higher rate or a higher chance of mental health issues. So, do you know what I mean? Right. All those things can lead you to becoming a drug addict. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a complex causative, and I think that gets lost in a lot of the public conversation. You know, like soundbite culture, whether it's, you know, social justice activists on Twitter or right-wing talking heads on fucking Fox News just want things that make people click the link.
Right.
And there's not actually like a lot of substance
right
to what people read about drug issues.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you know, in my old job, I did this project, and I sat down and talked to people we did like these short video interviews, and I talked to, I don't know, I can't remember, this is years ago now, but 12 interviews, 12 different people. Some of them had a profile in New Zealand, some didn't. They all had really difficult things happen in their life, which had led them to why they had a problem with drugs. You don't even need to have a deep trauma. You don't need to have been abused as a child to develop those sorts of issues either, you know? Like, modern life is fucking difficult. None of us feel very good all the time. We're constantly showing how we're not pretty enough or handsome enough, or we don't own the dopest kicks, or our fucking whips too old, or you know, like there's this big capitalist culture which is constantly trying to make us feel not good enough, so we buy things in order to chase money and chase money and chase money, and we're divorced from spirituality and nature and community, and we're divorced from ourselves, and we never know who the fuck we are. Well, is it any wonder people want to get high and drunk all the time?
I like that.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree, totally.
Like, and we have this really unfair, unscientific bias about what drugs are okay for people to use and what drugs aren't.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a very famous study by a guy, I put it up on my Instagram the other day actually, called Professor David Nutt. He used to be a policy advisor to the United Kingdom, in the United Kingdom. And him and his team did this big body of research, and it found out that alcohol was by far the most harmful drug, both to the individual user and society as a whole. And other drugs like MDMA are far down the list, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean that MDMA is harmless, it's not. But alcohol is like killing 5 million people a year globally, annually. MDMA is not doing that.
Yeah.
And if you legalize MDMA, it would do even less harm. I'm not saying doing drugs is a good thing, but if you want to reduce the damage that they do, well, you need to change the laws around them, and that's what harm reduction is.
Agreed.
I mean, I'm fucking straight edge. Like, I haven't done drugs. I took ecstasy once.
It was in Switzerland or something?
Yeah, you've got a very good memory. Yeah. Like I was 20 and I was
there.
I was 20 and I was in Sweden, and some dudes were like, "Yo, you want some ecstasy?" And I was like, "I've never done that before." Like, sure. And it was a great fucking time, and I felt like shit for 3 days afterwards, and I was like, "I'm good. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. That's not my life." You know what I mean?
How's your leg, by the way?
My leg is good. Thank you for asking, bro.
Yeah.
You followed my social media journey closely.
No, I listened to the podcast. How not to be an asshole. Yeah, that was hilarious. Not hilarious, but like you took some oxy or whatever, and like all your friends were like, "Yo, can I get some?"
Yeah, that is true. They were like that. Like, "Yo, got any of that shit left?"
Look who you asking.
Yeah,
Richie Hardcore.
Yeah, I can't be a drug dealer.
No, man. I totally agree with that model, dude. We got to change the laws around it. There's this alleged site called pillreports.com.
Yo, I know. Well, we have similar sites in New Zealand,
and it's test it out.
Yeah,
what's in it.
Well, so that's what's happening now. Like, both at a grassroots level, like people who put on festivals, music festivals and shit, and then like government agencies and stuff are starting to wake up to what we're talking about. Right. It's like, yo, harm reduction's important. If you don't want fucking kids dying at festivals when all they want to do is have fun, then let's put some proper policies in place. So pill testing's a big one. Like I know a really cool organization in New Zealand where I live, and they're great organizations around the world doing this shit. And they test pills, and I've seen them do it. Kid will turn on and be like, "Yo, I bought this fucking baggie, whatever." Yeah. And they run it through a machine, and they give you a chemical breakdown of what's in it. And most of the time, it's not what the fuck you thought it was.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, "Well, this is what it is. We wouldn't recommend that you do this."
Yeah.
And you know what? The kids often don't.
Yeah.
When they know what's actually in it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
As opposed to like, I'm gonna take this and here's some fucking rat poison.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how kids die.
Yeah.
You know, like like if you don't think that kids dying is a problem, then sure, like keep the fucking laws that we have.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I remember I was at this in 2010. There was EDC. The last EDC in LA was here, and they EDC is not in Las Vegas is in Las Vegas now because it was an underage kid that she died from ecstasy overdose.
Yeah.
She probably didn't know what was in it.
She probably didn't know what was in it.
And it's like it's so sketch when you just go to like a rave and then you just kind of like, hey, like, where can I get some stuff? And hopefully you have friends who know where good stuff is, but sometimes you don't. It's like it's rolling the dice.
It's rolling the dice, exactly, man. And I don't think anyone should be forced to do that because our laws are so outdated.
Right.
Like a lot of the drugs that kids are buying now weren't fucking around when these laws were even put in place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like New Zealand, their laws are like over 40 years old. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So it's time to update that.
Yeah. I know.
And it's not saying that drugs are good. I don't think drug use is a good way for life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think getting wasted every weekend is going to help you be a better parent, better person, come to understand yourself, contribute to society. But you know what? I know people who use drugs and they're fucking all those things. They run businesses, they're great fucking parents, they're wonderful boyfriends or girlfriends. Mm-hmm. They're not bad people, they just unwind and have fun in a way that, while I don't agree with, and is scientifically bad for their health, physically, and mentally and emotionally too. Like, they're not fucking, they don't deserve to risk dying. Yeah. You know what I mean? And also, like, there's the other side of it too. Sorry I'm going on, I just had a coffee.
Please, yeah.
Like, if you want to, so I've just been in Mexico, right? And I studied Latin America when I was at university and shit. Breaks my heart that, like 150,000 Mexicans have died in the drug war. Yeah. Since Felipe Calderon, like, launched, like, a renewed militarized war on drugs. Yeah. And, those drugs are getting bought by American kids and kids in New Zealand and Australia and yada yada yada. If you legalized the sale of cocaine, for example, well, again, that cocaine's not good for you. But do you want to? The cartels are running fucking whole cities in Mexico. Yeah. Take the violence out of it, and that's gonna be beneficial on both ends of the equation. Right. Like, we divorce like supply and demand. Right. Like this violence and the murder and terrorism that's happening in countries like Mexico is only driven by the demand for fucking often privileged white kids. Yeah. in other parts of the world. Yeah. Like if we changed our laws, then that's going to be win-win on both sides of the equation.
Yeah. It's looking back, I stopped doing that. I haven't done coke in, like, allegedly, if my mom's listening.
He's never done coke. No. I've never done coke, but it's popular. It's popular in New Zealand now. Yeah. Because for ages we couldn't get it. Yeah. Like it's because it's so far away. Yeah. But now, like, now it's like in the city.
Right. It's a sobering and sad thought that whatever you purchased, someone probably could have died. Someone probably died, like, somehow, like, in the process of
getting it to you.
Have
you seen that old film called Maria Full of Grace?
No.
I think it's Maria Llena de Gracia. It's about that, man. It's about two young girls who smuggled some cocaine in the United States, and one of them, like, the condoms for the coke broke in her stomach and she died. I
recall the
it's an old film.
The cover. I thought, like, this girl was, like, swallowing an egg.
She's swallowing, like, a condom or something filled with coke. Yeah, but it's a powerful film, man, and it really personalizes what's happening every day.
Yeah, like, it's interesting. We saw this documentary where, like, the amount of money, like, well, pretty much, like, I don't know how much a kilo of coke costs, but I didn't realize it takes, like, a whole field to do it. Oh, what? And like, the farmers don't get shit. No, like, they don't get rich off it.
It's like any sort of capitalist enterprise. Like, there's a handful of people at the top who are making ridiculous amounts of money, but you're, like, street level drug dealers, not like retiring in the fucking Hamptons anytime soon.
But it's interesting how, like, the farmers don't make shit, like, and it takes up their whole field. They could be growing, like, food to sustain themselves, but they're growing, like, coca plants, and I thought, like, at least if they're getting money, they're not getting money. Like, barely anything. Like, they get it from, they get all the money, and the suppliers get it, they don't get anything. So
yeah. And again, like, if you look at like international trade law and shit, like NAFTA, are you familiar with that? North American Free Trade Agreement?
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, so forgive me, dear audience, but when NAFTA came into effect, I think it was 1993, a lot of tariffs got stripped away from trade between the United States and Mexico, right? So America, from memory, could export their agricultural products into the Mexican market, and those products were subsidized by the American government, right? So they would hit the Mexican market at a cheaper price than Mexican producers could sell them for, right? So all these, traditional campesinos who were, making their livelihood from, growing whatever, suddenly were out of business because they were undercut by, American government-backed companies or suppliers. So what are they going to do to feed their families?
Right.
They're going to fucking grow drug crops.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's all these unintended consequences of like globalization that you need to take into account as well.
Yeah, man. So with all this done and said and done, we're talking about substance abuse and addiction. What are there like alternative ways? Are there ways to get help? A lot of times we don't often decide to get help until it's too late, or until you're really fucking up in life.
Yeah.
I know that the AA model and NA model are popular. I don't know their success rate. I don't knock. I know people who have definitely been clean doing NA and AA, but from what I recall, it's not a very high success rate.
Yeah, I don't know the success rate either, statistically speaking.
Are there other alternative ways to get treatment other than those two?
Yeah, so there's those two 12-step programs, which is a model that people use for all sorts of things: gambling, porn addiction.
What model is it?
Like a 12-step program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the AA and NA, it's like 12 steps. I forget them off the top of my head.
Right.
But it is like successful in that it does have a pretty high rate of people maintaining sobriety by working the steps. It's like taking ownership that you have a problem, admitting that you're powerless to do it without the help of a higher power as you envision it. Like a lot of people think, I have to be a Christian.
Exactly. I think that's what a lot of people have an issue with.
Yeah, no.
What if I'm atheist?
Totally. I've taken friends to 12-step meetings, and every facilitator meeting is like, how power as you see it. You know what I mean? That you believe in like the universe or fucking whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Just something bigger than yourself. Like, taking ownership of the harm that you've caused others. Making apologies. It's a really, I should know this off the top of my head, but it is a pretty evidential. Personal experience of the people that I know who work 12 steps shows that it works. But yeah, like you say, it's not for everyone. So you could do, if you were interested in a residential treatment program, which might not be 12 steps based. So some of them might be private. So if you have money, you can go to like a private clinic and you stay there for weeks or months, and they work with you with like a psychologist and yada 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 to get to the underlying reasons as why you're using alcohol or drugs or both problematically. You could do like independent counseling with someone, like outpatient stuff, so you don't get admitted to a facility. You keep living your life, stay in your home, work your job, but you have meetings with a counselor or a therapist.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a lot of different pathways to sobriety, and I think for some people it's a matter of finding what fits best.
Right. So with that said, the reason people do drugs is because it feels good, right? You release endorphins, dopamine. Exercise is a good.
Yeah, man.
Exercise is a good.
Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah, I got like this corny tattoo on my ankle with my homies, and it's just like HOL, high on life. You know what I mean? Like there is 1,000,001 things in your body that will make you feel good that you just need to tap into naturally. Like sleeping well, eating good food, and regular exercise are 3 really simple things that we can all do for our own mental health. that, and I think people think like when we talk about mental health that you have to be like a chronic depressive or have an anxiety disorder to be talking about mental health.
Yeah.
We all have to think about our mental health, just like our physical health. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone dies, or you break up with your long-term partner, or fucking work gets stressful, or your studies, your mental health will fluctuate.
Yeah.
So things that can set you up to be more resilient and to roll with the punches, as it were. Right? Just really simple things like that. Like you don't have to have a massive sporting goal to work out regularly. You don't have to lift weights or go running or climb fucking mountains. Go dancing or skateboard or surf or swim or do yoga or do Pilates. Like, find a way to move your body intentionally, a few times a week, and it's going to set you up to win.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eat good natural food regularly. You don't have to be like a raw food vegan at Erewhon every fucking weekend spending all your money. Like, you just need to eat shit that's not from a packet, that doesn't have 37,000 numbers and chemicals at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, could spend some time preparing your own food. Like that's a meditative process. Like preparing, like being grateful for what is sustaining you. But our modern environment is increasingly divorced from these things. Yeah. Spend some time like doing this, like talking with people. Right. So when I met you for the very first time, which was like an hour ago, I was talking to some dude called Justin. What's up, Justin? Who said, "Hey, what's up, man? I love Architects," which is the jumper I'm wearing. And I was like, "Yo, well, I'm a fan of Converge." And we had a human conversation based on our t-shirts. Right. And like that's really important, like human beings are social animals. And more and more and more, we're like the only time we ever connect with people is through our phones. Like tagging people in memes or fucking Skyping or Snapchatting. It's like, it's important to be just talking to humans. Yeah. That makes us feel good. Yeah. Like going for a walk is a great way to chance bump into someone and get some exercise at the same time. Vitamin D is really good for you. Right. But modern society is increasingly sit down in a car, you check your phone at the lights, like
that's dangerous.
Yeah, since we're divorced all the time from what actually helps keep us well or helps us improve our wellness.
I don't drive. I have my license. I don't drive, but when I see like friends like checking their phone at the side, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
oh, dude, I've been guilty of that. Like
to me, it's like, yo, like, yeah, chill. Especially out in LA, people drive.
Oh no, LA's stressful, man. Yeah. I've driven it. We drive on the other side of the road, so that's in here.
Oh wow! Yeah, is that a big?
Yo, I come over here and I freak out. It's like super intense. I drove to San Francisco a couple years back, and I was like, "Yo, this is terrifying."
So what's the? I mean, I'm sure there's logic to why, but I'd like to know what's the logic of driving on the other side of it.
I don't know. It's just I don't actually have the answer to that. But it's the same as like England, Australia. Like,
is there a preference for you? Like, do you have a preference?
Well, obviously, what I know, when driving in America is hard for me.
I can't imagine. We're talking about that. So you're talking about rolling with punches. You do Muay Thai.
Yeah.
How did you get into
martial arts?
Yeah, martial arts.
Yeah. No, I used to love all those. I love all those 80s films, like Bloodsport. Like fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme and shit. Rocky, all that stuff. I just watched the new Creed 2.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was corny as fuck, but
really?
But good, I don't know. Those films aren't like masterpieces, but they tap into you on an emotional level that I enjoy because I can relate to the story on some level,
There's that Rocky meme, if he dies, he dies.
Yeah.
So tell us about Muay Thai. I tried doing Muay Thai UFC. I just ran out of money, man.
Oh, right.
But tell us about your journey in Muay Thai. Like, you went from a Muay Thai fighter, now you're a trainer?
Yeah. Well, I started martial arts when I was 13. And my dad was sober at the time, and he took me to a taekwondo gym, which is Korean martial art. And I talked to my old man about this, who's sober now, by the way. And I really love my dad. And he said to the instructor, "I'm not doing a very good job as a father, and I wondered if you could help my son." Which I think, when he first told me that, I had to cry, And I thought that was actually being a really good dad. Yeah. And to be honest, like, I really fell in love with Taekwondo to start with. This is a long time ago. It was 1993. Yeah. And before martial arts is as popular as it is now. But yeah, I was really good at it.
Yeah.
I guess I was a pretty angry kid because of all the stuff I'd grown up with, and at the same time, very low self-esteem.
Right.
And the more I did martial arts, and my body changed to be stronger and fitter, and I had new skills and abilities, and I started competing at 13 as well in semi-contact like tournaments, and I started winning. The more my internal growth happened alongside that. So like on the back of my team, I teach Thai boxing. My t-shirt slogan is like "Fighting Saved My Life," like, which is true of like fucking pretty much everyone I know all around the world, whether it's in Spain or Thailand or America, like martial arts, whether it's boxing or Thai boxing or jiu-jitsu or judo or capoeira. It's just like this super positive pathway for people to put all their stuff.
Right.
And you don't have to have had like a traumatic childhood to get those benefits.
Right.
Like gives your life some focus and some structure and a sense of belonging to something bigger, self-esteem, all that mental health stuff that we've been talking about. So I started that in 1993. 1997, there was an older guy at high school. He was like, "Yo, you do this, you should come do some Muay Thai and see what's up. Like it's way cooler," or some shit.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. And I went to Thai boxing. I was like, "Oh damn,"
Yeah.
like there's some real shit.
Yeah.
Like I just about to get my black belt, and I thought I was the man. And I went to Thai boxing, and I was like, "Yo, any of these people who whip my fucking ass,"
It's gnarly.
So I started Thai boxing, and I did Taekwondo like Monday, Wednesday, Thai boxing Tuesday, Thursday. 1998, I got my Taekwondo black belt in New Zealand, and then stopped training Taekwondo and just had my first Muay Thai fight, and just loved it.
Yeah.
And like, man, like I'm no one in the sport of Muay Thai. Like I know some legit world champions, I've met some of the world's greatest dudes, and I'm well aware that I'm not on that level, but it's been a cool journey getting to just rub shoulders with people like that,
My favorite Muay Thai fighter, Sagat.
Oh yeah. I met him last year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I was at a tournament in.
He's real?
Yeah, he's a real person.
Sagat, like the Street Fighter?
Yeah.
What? He's real?
Yeah, go through my Instagram.
I was trolling.
No. Sagat Pichindi. He's an actual human being that Street Fighter based their character on.
Wow.
So I was at a tournament called MX in Bangkok last year. So the gym I used to train and fight at in Bangkok is called Sassy Papa Gym, and they promote Muay Thai tournaments, 3 rounds, and you fight an MMA glove. So and so I met Sagat at one of those shows. If you go back through my Instagram, just through there.
Damn, I was fucking on to be funny, but
no, he's
I thought you were like,
I was like, yo, homeboy knows his shit. But,
and then you're like, and you went along with it. Wait, he's actually going with this?
No, he's an actual person.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I got into Thai boxing, and I won some national titles and stuff in New Zealand, and I got to fight at Rajadamnat Stadium, which is one of the big, again, like I'm no one in Thai boxing, but it was a big deal for me.
Right, definitely.
To fight there and fight on TV in Thailand.
That's
and
awesome.
I fought in Japan and just had some humble, moderate success in the sport, and then moved into coaching. I started coaching when I was putting myself through university. I got sick of working sort of dead-end jobs, and was like, oh fuck, I might try and use my brain.
Yeah.
And how am I going to pay for that?
Yeah.
And I started coaching after university or before university. So that was cool. I was still competing, I was studying, doing some training people. And then, I've gone on to have some humble success, like helped train some of New Zealand's best professional guys.
Nice.
Who've won big tournaments and won world titles and stuff. And they've all gone on to do different shit with their lives or move to different gyms and stuff. But it's been really cool being part of other people's journeys in a way.
Awesome.
Like Thai boxing, like I single-handedly put martial arts down as the fucking best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
That and the hardcore scene.
Right.
And it feels nice to be able to help other people, whether they have one fight or 50 fights, or they do one fight and they go on to university and they've quit using drugs, or they become a world champion and they're moving towards UFC. Like, fucking feels good to be a little footnote in someone's life,
Right. I was gonna say too. What's interesting about martial arts, if you're heavily invested, it'd be tough to like drink and do all the drugs all the time.
You'll be surprised, man. Like
I know John Jones.
Yeah. I think again, it's like that term I used before, protective factor. Right. You know, like a lot of my homies, like, well, rats, man, and they used to, you know, party and do drugs and do some fucking slang shit, and and then getting into Thai boxing sort of moved them slowly away from that. Right. You know, like it moved them away from hanging with this crowd to hanging with this crowd. Yeah. And sort of going nowhere to like having some bigger focus. And the more successful they were over here, the more they want to do more of that and less of this. You know what I mean? But that's not true of everyone. Right. But I say it's definitely a positive, man. Yeah. If you feel that good, it's like, oh, I don't need to. I did a body of research for UNESCO, which is United Nations, I don't know, Office on Education and Science, some shit. I forget what UNESCO stands for. And to be fair, like, it wasn't the best body of research they ever got. But it was some paid work I did for them, exploring how martial arts programs anywhere in the world. So I did this, tried to find anywhere globally that had programs for young people doing martial arts, and pretty much uniformly from like Africa to fucking the Middle East to LA, kids who got involved in martial arts had more positive outcomes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's like an academic basis behind, you know, fucking thousands of years of tradition. Right, right. So we were talking about earlier how, you know, you talk about, you know, masculinity or toxic masculinity. I think it's a phrase now that's become like a buzzword on the internet. It's kind of like mocked and memed at. Yeah. What is toxic masculinity for those who don't know? Yeah, so that's a really good point. Yeah. So I'm kind of a bit over the term toxic masculinity, not because it's not true. It is. But is there a masculinity that's not toxic? Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, like a general definition of toxic masculinity is like the socially constructed ideas that being a man means that you have to be tough and masculine and aggressive and disdainful of homosexuals and have power of a woman and be a playboy, make lots of money. You're meant to be assertive in a leadership role. Right. You know, like you're meant to be physically muscular. Right. These are all stereotypical, traditional associations of what it means to be a man. Right. But they're not necessarily inherent. Like colors, you know, like there's nothing inherently masculine about blue and naturally feminine about pink. Cameron wore pink. yeah. In Muay Thai, pink's the color of champions. Right. If you go to Thailand, man, like no one call you a fag if you wear pink in Thailand, you know. Right. But over time, like we've traditionally forced men into this box of prescribed behavior. Yeah. And that becomes toxic. You know, I don't think if I'm going to go talk to, you know, I speak in jails or I speak at universities with the sports teams, I'm not going to talk about toxic masculinity. Because what I mean here, when you say toxic masculinity, is men are bad. It's bad to be a man. And that's counterproductive to the message I'm trying to teach, is that you can be into sports and lifting weights and having a few beers with your buddies. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you do it to the exclusion of talking about your feelings, being respectful to women, you know, like looking after your health, talking about your mental health, like that's when it becomes problematic. But our culture is constantly forcing men into this box of behavior. Right. Every time a group of boys teases a boy for being a little bit different at school, fucking fag, fucking harden up, or who's crying, or fucking you forget your tampon pussy, that sort of shit that you can go through at college or high school or whatever, that's forcing that boy into, I have to be like this. Right. Well, how are boys dying these days, man? They're fucking killing themselves. In my country, suicide is like one of the leading causes of death for young men. Yeah. And similar in the United States too. Yeah. If you don't kill yourself, you self-medicate with alcohol and other drugs. You take unnecessary risks. You use violence. You know, like gun crime in your country. Jeez. We don't have it here, but we have a lot of, you know, assault and stuff. Yeah. Sorry, we don't have it here. We don't have it in my country. Right. Guns aren't easily available. Yeah. But you know, like gun violence is one symptom of a culture where men can't healthily communicate. Right. Who's killing people in the United States with firearms? Young men. Yeah. You know, young white men. Do you know? I don't want to say it, thank you. No, but it's true. Yeah, it is. Like young white men are storming into fucking polytechnics and storming into universities and storming into high schools and shooting other children. It's fucking heartbreaking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's a complex causative as to why that is, but there's a body of research that I always reference by a guy called Malik. I think this is back in 2003. and it's called the Conformity to Masculine Norms Inventory. You can Google it. And yeah, it breaks down, I think, 11 different traits that men are expected to be like.
Right.
And it finds that the more men, the body research found that the more men try and fit into this box, the more psychological distress they experience.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, the American Psychological Association, someone like that, I just saw it on Twitter briefly, came up with the same thing. They said that toxic masculinity is an actual thing, that you can actually measure the emotional psychological distress that men feel and boys feel when they're forced to fit into this box of behavior. So it's not saying, fuck, I teach people how to fight, you know, like that's a stereotypical masculine thing, but that's not exclusively male. I can teach women to do that too, and I do teach girls to do that, and I too, you know, like we gender behaviors and feelings, and that's problematic. Right. When you say only girls talk about their feelings, only girls cry, only girls nurture their kids, you know, like women stay at home, men go out into the workforce, those are stereotypical ideas that create like a toxic masculinity. If you're a man and you can't hug your son, you're setting your son up for all sorts of problems, you know? If you can't tell your son, I love you, it's okay to cry, what's going on with you today, why are you being so upset, or how are you feeling, like, if you tell your son, suck it up, man up, harden up, that's creating that toxic notion of what masculinity has to be like. If you give your son social permission to be whoever he wants to be, if your son likes fucking flower arrangement as much as he likes playing football, that's cool. Yeah. You know, but quite often we're like, yeah, fucking touchdown. Why are you fucking reading this book? That's for girls, you know? Right. Every time you're like, that's for girls, don't cry, then you're locking that boy into these boxes of behaviors, which means he's gonna fucking explode one day. Yeah. Because being depressed and being sad, everyone feels that, irrespective of your fucking gender. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But we gender these behaviors all the time in our culture. You know, you think about how ideas are transmitted, or you look at like music videos. Men are, you know, speaking broadly and generally, you look at the top 50 Spotify songs, it's all about flexing and flossing and fucking, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, very materialistic, objectifying women. Yeah, objectifying women, girls are in the back, women are in the background, something to be dominated, controlled, you know, like, on to the next one, you know, like, the language we use in hip-hop, about sex, would smash, you know, like, tap that, hit that, smash that, you know, like, fuck bitches, get money. Like, that's a constant thing for like 30, 40 years. Right. What is that teaching men about how to relate to women? Exactly. You think about mainstream pornography. Now, pornography is a huge spectrum. Right. But increasingly the research shows us that mainstream heterosexual pornography that you see in like Pornhub or whatever is men exerting power and dominance over women. Right. And women are paid to pretend to like being called a bitch or a slut or a whore and having their fucking head smashed into the headboard. And then we wonder why 14-year-old girls are going to hospital with like sex-related injuries. Because I work in schools, man, and I hear these stories from nurses and teachers and parents. Because young kids, boys and girls, who don't have proper education around these issues, are just recreating what they see in porno. It's all an act. It's all an act. It's all a movie, and we've sexualized aggression. We've made hurting people sexy in our culture. So fucking, if you want to have a healthier sexuality, you need better education around that. If you want to have a healthier concept of masculinity, it's like teaching boys that fucking teaching. Hola. Hello. Estamos ocupados. Okay, gracias. It's teaching boys that sex is about sensuality and connection as much as it's about like the physical side of things, you know what I mean? Because when I grew up, I grew up with all the same shit that I'm talking about now. 90s. And then 90s kid, man. Like, you know, I went to an all boys high school. Yeah. And like, it was kind of like a tough school. Right. And everyone brags about scoring girls and stuff. Yeah. And it's weird how guys can do that, but when women do it, they're sluts, they're whores. But when guys do it, you're a pimp, bro, you're a player. Yeah, it's a mad double standard, which is changing. It's good. But at the same time, it still exists, you know? It is double standard, you know, girls are thoughts, you know? fucking dudes' allegiance for being sexually promiscuous.
Right.
And I think everyone actually, we all want to feel connected.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be in love with someone to have a sexual interaction with them, but like, should at least like them, or at least don't you think?
Yeah, I think with that,
I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with one night stand.
Right.
Trust me.
As long as it's consensual
and informed, and respectful.
Because to me, like, I'm wait, not on me, but I think it's good that if you can vocalize that while being respectful, that's cool. Because you don't want to lead people on like, oh like, you're super cool, we should hang out, and you hook up with them,
and then ghost them.
And I'm guilty of that. Like when I was younger, I think it's karma that I've been getting women, and that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But there's definitely that, and I think like even the culture now, it's cool to like hurt the other person's feelings and come off like, oh, I'll play this person.
Yeah, man.
Like, I don't know, like curve them, ghost them, or block them afterwards.
Yeah, and that's that whole thing, man. Like, it's fucked up. Like, hookup culture. Like, again, I don't care if you want to sleep around. I've definitely been promiscuous in my life, man. Yeah. For real. But yeah, safe sex, consensual sex. You can have a one night stand and be kind. Yeah. Just like communicate. Definitely. Oh, I'm not really into anything other than what we're doing now, and say that before you have sex with the person, right? So they don't go into it with their eyes open, so to speak. Whereas, like you say, man, like these days it's about like spinning some big fucking story, and then the person might think there's a hope for something more, or even if it's just like a casual thing, and then it's like, yo, peace, number blocked, disappear, and that's just using people like we use drugs or food or whatever to feel good about ourselves for a minute. But everyone loses that way. Yeah.
I totally agree with that 100%.
And so you go back to your original question, like, and that's all part and parcel of a toxic masculinity, like to a social prescription of what it means to be as like a good man is to score heaps of chicks, Right. We teach that from our culture, through our music, through our advertising, through the stories our fucking friends tell us, our uncles tell us, the jokes we see on Facebook. You want to change that and create like a healthier masculinity. It's having conversations like this with your homies. Yeah. So when someone makes some stupid joke about, oh yeah, I fucking tapped that, and then fucking blocked her, like, oh hey man, like, I know you're joking, but why would you do that, man? She's a person too. Yeah.
I do it a lot. Like, I do it kind of low key. I do it subtle.
You don't need to do right. Yeah, it's how you have that conversation is where the difference gets made, I think.
Yeah, like, I talked to some bitch yesterday. I'm like, oh, you mean women?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. No, it's cool. Just they're women.
Yeah. That's all my boys at Thai boxing call me Amity Hardcore. Yeah. Because I'm a bit older than a lot of them. Right. And also I'm that guy these days. And like they were like, oh, yo, that shit's gay. And I'm like, and they'll be like, no, I don't mean gay. I just mean, you know what I mean? And that's cool because they're starting to reflect on that. Their language has weight about what they're saying in the world. Right. And it's the same with how they talk about women. Or, I train teenage boys, man, and how to fight. Tough. And they talk about I would smash. And one time, I've told this story before. Is like, I was like, yo, why do you say smash? And this kid was like, oh, what else would I say? Because it was so normal in his peer group culture. And I was like, well, what about, I wonder what that attractive girl's name is, or how would I talk to her, or, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But boys say stuff because they want all the other boys to approve them for saying that. Right. If your boys are like, I don't want to smash something, you smash a window. Ooh, you smash something you don't like.
Or beat that.
Like or beat that, or I fucking, beat that pussy up.
Yeah, it's like,
well, the shit you hear in hip hop, like not all hip hop, but some hip hop is like, it's like, why would you talk about a human being like that? Yeah. Like that's another person with feelings as well. Mm-hmm. Like,
I think
it's really dehumanizing.
Right. It's
and so when a guy says something like that, and all the other guys, instead of like applauding them for using that language, just like, oh yo man, I don't say beat that, or well, that's fucked up or whatever. Yeah, that's powerful.
I hit that, like there's a lot of times I fuck around. Oh yeah, I smashed that with, she's cool with it, like if she consent. Yeah, like I give her the D with consent. Yeah. But I think it's changing now little by
little, and that's the thing. That's why when you message me on Instagram and tell me what you want to talk about, I was like, yo, if one kid watches this and thinks about the language they use and how they relate to women differently, I'm like, fucking rad. That's how culture changes.
Yeah, man. So we're talking about pornography, like, a lot of guys, including myself, we watch it, but like more and more I see as I get older, like, you know, porn gives you this like fake idea of like what sex actually is, expectations, and like you said, like, you know, little younger kids watch like super hardcore like stuff and think that's normalized. No, that's, you know, there's a contract, and like that's scripted. Yeah, it's not real. No, you know. So when you're that aggressive in real life, and you're wondering how come I'm hearing this girl, she's a B word. It's like, well, obviously they don't know. Yeah, but they have to realize it's a script. It's fake. You know? Yeah, exactly. Like the harm. Yeah, it's also about like the harms of porn. And you work with like younger kids. I can imagine like how they're dealing with it. Yeah. So in New Zealand where I live, and I get flown to Australia to talk about this too. There's been a bunch of recent studies, which is on the back of years of like feminist activism. Right. You know, like I do want to acknowledge that a lot of the stuff that I say or talk about has been, you know, gets heard perhaps because of, you know, like male privilege, you know? Yeah, like I'm saying the same shit women have been saying for fucking generations. Right, exactly. Because I'm a tattooed dude. Yeah. You know, like men listen. Males. Yeah. That's the actual thing. Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying anything that we're not saying anything new under the sun. This has been said. It hasn't been said before. It's just when men tend to say it, other men listen. Right. But when a woman says, it's just some fucking insert fucked up word. Word. So I want to acknowledge that, but there is it's intersectional feminism. Yeah. I mean, feminism is something that there's a lot of intra-feminist discourse and disagreement, but you know, I think feminism is something that makes all our lives better. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, off topic a little bit, but there's a bunch of research that's come out in New Zealand and indeed around the world, which is showing that kids are looking at porn at younger and younger ages through like smartphones, from as young as like 9 and 10 years old. And it's shaping them up, you know, like synaptically to their arousal pathways in a really unhealthy way. So then real life sexual interactions with someone of a similar age, not 9 or 10, but as a teenager, aren't arousing them like the hardcore aggressive sex that they're watching on the internet. So I'll go and speak at school, and you know, you hear about young men who are 16 and 17 with erectile dysfunction because their sexual partners aren't porn stars, you know? And these kids are looking at animal porn, they're looking at like gangbang porn, they're looking at, you know, anything that you can fucking imagine. Yeah. And I'm not shaming anyone for looking at pornography, but you need to understand that what you're looking at isn't a realistic, healthy model of what sex is, particularly as a teenager or as a child. And porn doesn't role model safe sex. So when you see condoms in pornography, there's never any talk about consent or mutuality of pleasure. It's always dudes doing shit to women. Right. You know, like subject, verb, object. It's like, you know, 4 dudes. You know, one girl doing whatever the fuck they want to do, and the woman is generally paid to pretend to like it, or not. You know, like we've sexualized, you know, fucking gagging and deep throating and like mascara running down someone's face and pulling their hair and slapping, and you know, over 8% of porn's got some sort of name calling. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You like that bitch, and if you're into that, I'm not trying to slut shame anyone. Right. Like, what turns you on is what turns you on. But increasingly, I don't think many people get the chance to develop their own authentic sexuality. Right. Because they're exposed to this porn blueprint from such a young age. Right. And that's really unfortunate because sex can be fun and it can be casual and it's healthy. But at the same time, like, it can build really cool, intimate bonds between human beings. Whether for a short time or a long time, and porn doesn't role model that. No. Porn doesn't role model like mutuality of pleasure. You know, it doesn't. Does that feel good for you? Do you like that? Tell me to stop. You know, you never hear any of that. Yeah, that's what healthy sex should be like. Whether you're into some freak shit like hanging from the ceiling, or some missionary shit, like you should be able to talk about what you both like. Yeah, it's not like that in porn. It's this ridiculous script. But we do such a bad job teaching kids about healthy sex in our schooling,
whether you're in the United States or in New Zealand.
Is there sex ed?
Yeah, we have sex ed,
but, it isn't really
but it's haphazard. It's different across the school system, you know. So so each school is different. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get external educators in, like myself, who'll come in and do a talk or a body of workshops, which is great. Like when I talk, I try and encourage a school, like, let me be part of a series, you know, like, because just one talk from one guy's might plant some seeds, but you need a broader body of work around it to really, you know, lock that shit in. But yeah, none of that's taught well in schools, so kids are naturally curious about sex, so they look at porn and what porn's teaching is really unhealthy.
What their friends teach them.
Yeah, what your friends teach you.
Man,
what the fuck's another
90s, man.
Yeah, man. Like, I think about the shit that we used to talk about when I was a boy looking at pornography, and I'm like, oh, yo, I have regret, you know, like I've reached out to ex-girlfriends that I'm still friends with and been like, hey, this might be a bit fucked up, but when we were together, I looked at a lot of porn, and I just want to acknowledge that if our sex life was, you know, I was never into some crazy freak shit, I'm just putting it out there, but like, you know, like if it ever made you feel uncomfortable or yada yada yada, or I didn't realize, like, I'm genuinely sorry, and if you want to talk about it, and they've always been like, oh, yo, no, everything was consensual, but I always did whatever my boyfriend wanted me to do or was into, because I thought it would make them love me more, because I thought that's what culture expected of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad. You know, I wish that my sexuality had been shaped maybe a bit more authentically, you know what I mean?
But at the same time, though, would you be here today, like, or doing what you do if it wasn't?
Yo, man, like, nah, not at all. Like, like, I got into feminism and reading about pornography as a social issue and domestic violence and masculinity because I grew up with family violence, and then separately speaking, because I grew up at an all-boys school, and I grew up like exposed to all this sort of negative stuff, and I wanted to unpack that, you know, like I was like, these ideas that I've seen around me don't match with, you know, the music I'm listening to through hardcore and punk rock and political hip hop, you know, those ideas started connecting more and more with me, so I started doing proper academic study about it. Yeah. And when I decided to go back to university and develop a new skill set on how to think critically, I applied that to, I guess, my own life, and that's led to the work I do.
Yeah, it's so humbling when like a woman tells you like, hey, like what you're doing is fucked up. Like a lot of guys take that as like, oh, what the fuck? But then like if you take the time to listen and like be humble about what they tell you what you're doing is problematic, it helps you really grow. Like
I think that's the thing, man. Like you don't know what you're doing is fucked up until you're fucked up. You know what I mean? And you need some older cats to sometimes check you or role model better behaviors. You know?
Yeah. It's like when women tell me, oh, you know, like that's not cool. You know, I really like listen. Before I'd be like, yo, fuck you, you know? But like then it's like, yo, maybe listen. I'm gonna listen to what you're saying, like look it up, and it's like, really think, like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry that I said that.
And it's how you have that conversation, which is I think that's where the struggle is now. Is I see a lot of like really good ideas communicated really understandably aggressively or negatively or calling people out or shaming them or excommunicating them, and that actually shuts down conversation and growth. You know, like when you make someone feel bad or about a behavior they might not even be aware of, or a concept or an idea. Not like, it's, you know, if someone's like, if it's like Charlottesville and there's fucking Nazis in the street, by all means, like, fuck you, motherfucker. Yeah. But if someone makes some throwaway sexist joke or, you know, sees something problematic and your general experience of that person isn't that they're a bad person or a racist or a sexist or a homophobe, whatever. Maybe just, oh, hey man, like, why do you think that's funny? Is a good way to broach the conversation rather than attacking them.
Right, I like that.
Because when you attack someone, what do people do? They get defensive. Right. And if the goal is to change their values and their views and ideas, you need to actually talk with them rather than attack them. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, definitely.
I know that's coming from a privileged position as a middle class, you know, Lebanese white guy, you know, but fucking, I think talking with people over time has come to me to be like a much better way of affecting change.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. To me, it's more like, you know, sometimes women have, you know, they've had it. They've been letting it.
Okay, so I'm speaking broadly generally. So like whether we're talking about drug use or being homophobic, I totally understand. Yeah, like Time's Up and Me Too.
Yeah.
Like that explosion.
Right.
Yo, I understand, man.
Right.
Like, sisters have got a right to be angry.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't be angry.
Right.
I'm not saying don't be righteous.
Right. But when it comes to,
but when I'm thinking about men talking to other men.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. My fault.
No. But yeah, like, I would never tell a person of color don't speak like that.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not trying to tone police anyone.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes all people, I think, need to check our initial emotional response to think about what's the most pragmatic way I can affect change in the situation.
Right. And I totally agree with what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with like the dialogue thing. Hey, let's not like embarrass them in social media. Let's DM them or Facebook message. Hey, like I get what you're saying. I can see why, but it's problematic. I view because of this. Here's studies because of this, as opposed to just like trolling them or making them a meme. You know,
I've got a cool friend like that who's non-gender binary in New Zealand, and they do a lot of really good work in that space, and they will always DM me if they're like, oh hey man, like so you said this, or I just want you to think about this differently.
Yeah.
They'll never like screenshot some shit that I said 5 years ago that might not be as conscious of issues as I may be today.
Right.
And I'm still evolving, as we all are.
Same. Yeah.
And they're really constructive in the way they approach me, and I'm like, yo, this is some role model shit, the way you talk about things. And it makes me want to be better. Because when I was 26 or 27, I would be the same, like, this blah, blah, blah. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, well, that just makes people tell me to fuck off.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want people telling me to fuck off. I want people to be like, oh, why do you think that?
Right.
And then we have a conversation.
I like that. Why do you think this funny? Why did you say? I like that. Well said. That's dope. I like that.
Wow. Yeah. It's just a simple way to like encourage people to start a conversation. Yeah. If you can't explain why something's funny, then maybe it's not funny.
Yeah, I like that a lot, man, because I never thought of that phrase before. But that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a good one. Why do you think that's funny? It's like they can really think. All right. I think we talked about consent, but definitely consent, like we said with pornography and everything, and like casual hookups. Consent is so big, especially what's going on now. You know, consent is when the other person says yes, being sober. You know?
Yeah. So there are stages of it too.
Right.
You know, like there's this whole, you know, the whole idea that a kiss is not a contract. You know, like just because you kiss someone. This is the whole idea of progressive consent.
Right.
So just because you kiss someone doesn't mean you're going to have like penetrative sex with them. Or just because you have vaginal sex doesn't mean you're going to have anal sex. Or, do you know what I mean? Just because you have oral sex doesn't mean you're going to have like, you know? So it's just simple things like, does this feel good? Or tell me, is this okay? Yeah. Or do you like this? Or do you want to have sex? You know, like if you're going to have sex with someone, you should be able to fucking talk about it.
Right.
But there's also enthusiastic consent is a concept that we really need young people to understand. So if someone is just lying there and they're not saying no, and you're not really listening to their body language, there's not really like enthusiastic consent there.
Right.
You know, if you're just doing whatever you want to do and they're a bit wasted and they're not like ripping your pants off. Yeah. I would encourage all people to talk about that as not having consent. You know, you have to ask, can I take your pants off?
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep doing this?
Right, yeah.
Particularly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're going to have sex with someone, which is, you know, whether it's just a hookup or it's, you know, like, you just don't be able to fucking talk about it. The sex is going to be better. Yeah. You know, like, tell me what you want me to do to you. Right. Or tell me how you like it. Or, you know, like, if people are enthusiastic and into the sex, it's going to be a much better physical experience. Right. And no one's going to get hurt. Physically. And no one's going to... do you know what I mean? Like,
it's like, why would you?
I read this essay once called "My Rapist Didn't Know He's a Rapist," and it was really profound. I can't remember it word for word, but it goes on to talk about how our culture normalizes all this really shitty behavior for men, and men can still think like, "Oh, she just made it up in the, you know, she changed her mind and was embarrassed, and that's why you blah 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 blah." Do you know what I mean? But any sex or sexual activity that happens without explicit consent is technically speaking rape or sexual assault, you know? So we need to do a better job of teaching progressive consent, informed consent, so the person can't be intoxicated overly. You shouldn't be overly intoxicated. You know, obviously statutory, you know, so what is the age? Yeah. You know, like...
Fucking R. Kelly.
Yeah, fucking R. Kelly. Think about digitally as well. You know, like if you make a sex tape with your partner and then you forward that on to your fucking crew, like cool. I don't know about the law. I don't know about the law here, but that's illegal. That's illegal in New Zealand and Australia.
I think California made it illegal to make revenge porn.
Yeah, revenge porn. You know, like so. Yeah. Just that sort of stuff, like coercing people. Oh, if you love me, or you do that, or I've got that video of you. If you don't fucking do this with me right now, I'm gonna put it on the internet. Like there's no consent there. You know, consent's got to be freely given. You know, so I think we need to have those conversations. And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that we don't have a good uniform education about these things in our schooling system, whether you're in the United States or in New Zealand or Australia, and that needs to change.
Yeah. Well, those are very heavy topics.
Yeah, I know. Right. I'm the life of the fucking party.
No, that's cool. Yeah. In the parties, you're the first one to arrive, first to leave.
Yeah. You've always got a sober driver.
Yeah. Let's talk a lighter topic, man. So I found your page because I'm a big fan of Amity Affliction, Deez Nuts, and Louie Knuxx. Man, how'd you meet all these people?
How did I meet those guys? Yeah, so I met Louie. Yeah. Who's Todd? What up, homie?
Todd. That's his name?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Todd.
Yeah. I met Louie maybe like 2005 or 6 or something. He was like a good MC in New Zealand, and I was a fan of that music. And I used to work on this like independent radio station. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just go to hip hop shows, and I think he was a friend of a friend, and he came watch some of my fighting when I was doing Muay Thai, and we just became boys, man. Like
he fights too, no?
Yeah, he just had a boxing fight. You know, he's always been involved in martial arts, and he's had this corporate boxing fight a while back and won that, and he's always enjoyed training in martial arts, and we sort of bonded over that, and we bonded over music, and then just bonded over being like, I don't know, like he's just a good human.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. He does all this great work with youth now.
I see that.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So he does all this work with kids who are from the wrong side of the tracks, because he was, man. Like,
right.
He's been in jail and all this sort of shit, and he's turning shit around, and he's giving back to. He moved back to the city where he's from. Mm-hmm. So we met in Auckland, which is the biggest city in New Zealand, which is a small country, and we hung out there for years. And then we'd chill in Melbourne, and I met the Deez Nuts guys through Todd. Okay. So he was good friends with JJ, who's the vocalist of Deez Nuts, and I met the Amity guys. They were playing with Architects.
Early grade.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Amity and Architects, and I flew over to some show, and my boy helped me out with like triple A's. Mm-hmm. And I just met those dudes backstage, and we just got to talking, man. I was like, yo, man, I was kind of like, I'm the same age as those guys, or even a little bit older, and I was like, yo, I'm a huge fan of your band, but we just got on as human beings.
Right.
And I've just been really fortunate, man, that whenever they've had shows, they're like, yo, come hang out.
That's awesome.
I just am really lucky that that we had mutual friends, and I might have been fortunate enough to get a backstage pass or whatever, and we just got on as people, and the friendships have just evolved from there.
Nice.
Yeah, my very good friend Sam Crocker, he sings for an awesome band called Antagonist AD. If you like metalcore, you should check them out. He's the tour manager for Amity, and he's always hooked me up with shows or whatever, and I just went out with them on the Warped Tour, and last year through New York State.
Nice.
They've just been really generous to me, man, to be honest. Like, I feel a debt of gratitude to the guys in Amity for all the good times that they've shown me. And
music is powerful.
Yeah, and same with Architects and DN and all those bands. Lyrically, I relate to everything they sing about, you know, and I've had my own journey with mental health, and I have my own ideas around politics and society, and I know what it's like to feel angry and pissed off, and you know, hardcore and metalcore has always been like a spiritual home for me.
Awesome.
And I'm really grateful that I just happen to be friends with dudes who make fucking amazing music.
Yeah, I think the first time I got exposed to like any band outside of USA was Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, yo.
It was 2008. Ready for Plagues.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a super heavy album. Yeah. Have you heard their latest single?
I haven't. Last one I heard was what was that one with Drown?
Oh, okay.
That was really good.
Yeah. Their new shit's like, the latest single is like real pop. It's like so far removed from Pray for Plagues.
And I think it's good that people like grow and evolve.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, they're an amazing band.
Yeah.
When I used to do radio, I had the opportunity to interview them a couple of times.
How was your radio life?
I did independent radio for like 15 years in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Like it was a good time in my life. I got to meet and interview a lot of famous people, man.
Nice.
Like interviewed like Chuck D from Public Enemy and fucking Bring Me the Horizon and fucking, I don't know, heaps of bands like Fear Factory and I don't know, anyone who I can think of. Who else?
I liked House vs. Hurricanes.
Oh yeah, I never talked to those guys, but they're a good band.
I liked Your Demise was good.
Yeah, I remember that band. Yeah.
It has so many different lineups.
Yeah.
Lineup changes.
Yeah. But I spend a lot of time interviewing musicians and talking about all sorts of different issues to like a broad platform in my city. And then I moved to like a mainstream radio station and did like a mental health radio show sometimes. So I just fill in. And it was myself, and there'd always be a psychologist or psychiatrist in the studio.
Awesome.
And people would just call in, and that's how I got into talking about mental health publicly.
Are you XTD or DTD?
I'm XTD.
XTD?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? XTD is a thing, yeah?
Yeah, for real. My boy Weber's got an XTD tattoo, Age to Death. Yeah. If you're not familiar with that.
It's it started with DTD, right?
DTD.
Is it drink till death?
Drink or drug. I don't know. I'll text one of the boys and ask.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's their whole crew, and now you see like a million kids on the internet with like Simon DTD or Jay DTD or whatever,
I would never put that like on my. I heard people like got that tattooed on them.
Yo, I've seen kids.
And JJ like, nah, man, cover that.
Yeah, but it's like it's their crew, you know what I mean? But they're all really good people, man. They've always been very kind to me, and I'm appreciative for their friendship.
Cool. So wrap it up real quick. Any advice you have to people just like going through it, like maybe they relapsed or like they broke up with someone recently? Do you have any advice of like how to kind of navigate through those waters? It's a very loaded question, but
yeah. You said real quick. Man, life's difficult, man. Like life's an inherently difficult thing, man. Mm-hmm. Like I think the first noble truth of Buddhism is that to exist is to suffer. So you're always gonna experience hardship. Mm-hmm. I think setting up good pathways to resilience and healing are important before bad shit happens. So get into the habit of exercise, of therapy, of seeing a psychologist, having honest conversations with your friends, journaling, like writing down about your feelings, eating well, sleeping well. If you're going to use substances sensibly and infrequently. Those things will set you up to be a little bit more bulletproof, as it were, for when bad shit invariably happens. If you're going through a difficult time, like please don't be afraid to ask for help. Like you use a 24-hour call line. Was it Kendrick? No, not Kendrick. Logic. Right. Logic had that song, like 1-800, whatever.
Right.
And when he did that song, that call line blew up. Because so many kids like, oh, yo, I can ask for help. For help. I've been seeing a psychologist off and on since I was 24, not because I'm unwell. I'm not like a psycho, but I had some deep emotional hurts that needed dealing with.
Right. And
that's been an off and on journey, and that has made me be a better person and a healthier person and a happier person. And I had some grief in my life when I was from like 31 to 37. I had a bit of a mental health journey, and having a professional to help me through all of that has I don't know, maybe kept me alive. Sometimes, to be honest with you. And on top of all that other shit I do, my sobriety, my training, being honest about my feelings, helping others.
Right.
You know, like you're reading John Joseph's new book right now, right?
PMA Effect.
Yeah, PMA Effect is an awesome, like simple, straightforward guideline to things you can do to feel better about yourself, and part of that is helping other people. And I guess reading that book, I'm like, oh, yo, I kind of live like this already, and he just puts it in a really nice structure. Right. John Joseph had a very traumatic life, like, and he's come through all of that and come out the other side of it to give back to people, and that's really inspiring. And in a much smaller scale, in my own smaller way, I guess I find myself trying to emulate someone like that, man. Like, so if you are in a good place, help other people too. You know, that's going to be good for you. So that's like a win-win. If you're relapsing, you ask that, man. Like, go to a meeting. Again, don't be shy to ask for help. Like, no one can make you do the work. You know, like you have to do the work yourself. You have to admit that you have a problem. You have to admit that maybe you're powerless over it, and you need other people. And you know, some people believe a higher power to help you do that. There's no shame in changing as well. You know what I mean? Be mindful of who you spend time with. You know, like if you're hanging out with fucking, they say, you know, lie down with dogs, you're gonna get fleas, man. Like if you are always hanging out with negative people, low vibration people who are doing a lot of alcohol and drugs and eating junk food and being lazy, like chances are you're not gonna wake up and go running, go to see your therapist, you know, go to your class, or you know, do you know what I mean? Like hang out with people who are better than you. Or hang out with people who you have traits or that you want to emulate or can teach you stuff and that you can do too. You know, I'm not saying be a leech. I'm saying create a symbiotic relationship with people where you all help level each other up. You know, like if you want to make changes in your life, then who you spend your time with is an integral part of that.
Great, cool, man. I don't want to keep you longer. Thank you so much, man.
Yo, I'm very humbled that you reached out and you want to talk to me.
Of course, man. I'm a big fan of your work, dude.
Yo, thank you, Vaughn. It's been a pleasure.
Man. Thank you.
Yo, thank you for watching.